Alrighty guys, we're going to find out if this sweetheart will actually run. This is, according to the numbers, a 1978 model. You can see the numbers right there, kinda, maybe, sorta. Anyway, Briggs and Stratton engine, and we're going to see if this sweetheart will actually go. The plug's been out of it for I don't know how long, probably quite some time. Fuel tanks have gone off of it, and it looks like she's had kind of a rough life since then. So let's see what we got. Well, like I say, this thing has been setting for I do not know how long. I got this along with several other engines on one thing or another a couple of years ago, and I decided now is the time to dig it out and see what we can do. And this thing is heavy. Gravity really likes this machine, this engine. So, first of all, let's find out if we got any compression at all, if we can do that. I'm going to stick my compression tester over the spark plug hole here. Holy cow, this turns over hard. Let's see if we got any oil. That was loose. And it looks like pretty much none. As hard as this turns over, I think we're probably better off, first of all, pulling the head off this thing and seeing what's going on inside of here. To do that, we're going to need to pull the shroud off of it. And then we're going to get this goofy floppy air filter out of the way because it's already just irritating the crud out of me. Whoa. Now that's an air filter. It is a cobbled up mess. Yep. She's just ripe for deteriorating into nothing. Let's go ahead and pull that stud out of there. Our crankcase, look at that. My goodness. Yep, she's got a little juice on there, that's for sure. Our crankcase vent line is, looks like it's probably petrified, and it's also stuck. Yeah, I'd say it's super duper petrified. Yeah. That's how I would describe it. Alrighty, I'm sure we're going to have to go through the carburetor on this, so we haven't lost anything yet. That's an interesting stud or spacer. Okay, meanwhile, back at the ranch, let's go ahead and pull our shroud off and get our head off here and see how much trouble we're in this department. Plate nice. There we go. Yeah, there's just a ton of drag on that. Let's go ahead and head the way we were heading and go ahead and pop our head off here and see what we got. Those look bigger. Think the muffler will come off? Going into dangerous waters now. Oh my goodness. Thought for sure as heck that'd be a bad idea. Didn't seem to be too bad. Yeah, there's some white stuff in there. Yeah. Alrighty. You can see all the junk laying on top of our piston in here. It's going to be our head gasket out of the way. Hot. Alrighty, let's roll it over and see if we actually have valve action. There's an exhaust valve. There's an intake valve. Look at our cylinder wall here. Yeah. Let's look on down in there a little bit. Oh man, I can't turn that way. I gotta use the flywheel. And see what we see. She's been setting quite some time. Oop, our focus went all to heck. Been setting quite some time. Kind of curious what that is. Let's give it just a little bit of lube, just so it knows we like it. Get some of that surface rust so we get rust that we can just wipe off there. Run that piston up and down a few times. Get the dirt and junk that we can get off. Isn't that interesting? That piston has a mark on it right there still. It looks incredibly clean. The piston itself. Not so much the cylinder, but the piston does. Once again, I have no idea the history of this thing, where it come from, what it used to power. I really don't know. But I know now I can turn it with the crankshaft instead of having to grab the flywheel, so that's remarkably better. I can see some crosshatch in there even. Yeah. Man, I think this thing just died of boredom more than anything. Let's see. Yeah, look at our head in here. You can see where somebody's been chiseling around in here. So this was probably been gone through not too super long ago and then just died of boredom afterwards. Our head gasket looks fairly new. She's run a little bit. Looks fairly new. Interesting. What do you say we put it back together and see if it will run? All right, got our head torque back on, and boy, those threads don't look good. Probably should have done something about that while I had the silly thing off. I think next thing we can do is put this shroud back on, and we can actually see if we have spark. All right, we got our head torque back on, our carburetor mounted back up, and our exhaust put back on, and we have spark. I know. That's pretty amazing. And what we're getting ready to do at this point is I'm going to put a little carb cleaner down the old spark plug hole and then put the spark plug in and pull the rope. Let's see what happens. This is probably not the correct spark plug, but it is certainly the spark plug I have. All right, let's give it a whirl. I also hooked it to the bench with a couple of C-clamps. Let's see. Choke off. Oh, it's kind of screwed too. Choke off, and that works. I don't know how much throttle we're set at, but here we go. Recoil's not pulling them back in very good either. We'll have to fix that as well. Ooh, she poofed. Almost going in on its own. That's awesome. Let's pull the carb off and go through it real quick. Better yet, let's put a little bit more of this in the carburetor. Yep, that's fun. I am super happy. But we're going to have to do something about our carburetor here. Oh well. There's a bolt that comes into the bottom of this carburetor. So we're going to pop that bolt out and see if we can get it separated. I believe it will. We have a super petrified fuel line, as you might imagine. There we go. Oil and carburetor, loose from the engine. Let's take it apart. I'm going to do my best to keep this in frame as best I can when we're doing this. I know a lot of times I don't, but I'm going to do my best to keep it in frame. Well, that wasn't as long as I thought it'd be. It's looking kind of crusty in there, though. Our gasket's broke, too. See if we can not break it anymore. And let's pull this petrified fuel hose off. I think we are going to need to do a little more delicate operation. Like that. Let's go ahead and pull our float bowl separate from the rest of this thing. Ah, there we are. There's our float. Don't hear any fluid in it. Not that I truly expect any anyway. Our choke plate has had an issue. I don't know how well you can see that in there, but that's certainly, like, that should be choked and that plate is bent up. Half one, half. Yeah, a little over one out. It's about what I'd expect. That is what I should have took out before I pulled it apart. That jet in there, that long thing. Let me get a screwdriver that'll reach in there. I knew there was something. Once again, this isn't my wheelhouse. This is just something I like to do. I'm not sure that sweetheart's going to come out. Maybe. Wow, that is one mangled jet. And no, I did not do all of that. Glad we did, though. Yep. It's a good thing we went ahead and took it out. There looks like some holes right there where the air will come into this and draw fuel in and not the top. So, yeah. We're going to take all this and we're going to put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Probably not the float, but the body, and see how it turns out. I'll bring you back whenever we got it done with the cleaner. It doesn't look very clean, but it feels pretty clean. Yeah. All the holes work, so I'm going to call that fairly clean. We want to put that in last. Now, we got everything fairly clean here, so we shouldn't have too many issues getting this back together. So go ahead and set our float in and our float needle. He feels pretty pliable still, so pretty happy about that. He sits just a little proud. It's not quite level, but I don't think I'm going to mess with it. Apparently before it was running like this, so we'll go ahead and put it together and see what happens. Alrighty, let's put our tube in here. And she's pretty rough on the end there. So we'll love this thing back into place. That's seated. And then we got our adjuster here. Give it just a little love. Now when you're screwing these in, make sure that the adjuster is screwed out far enough it doesn't bottom. So I want to back this off some from where it was, then tighten this up. We don't want to jam that needle down into the seat underneath there. We're going to start that about 2 turns out and see how that goes. It's probably too far. Then we have our low speed mixture screw up here. And it was about 1 turn out. So we'll leave it about there. I gotta tell you guys, that's it for this carburetor. She is super simple. We do want to straighten our choke plate though, because she's had a pretty rough run of life there. Let's give this just a little lube down in the corners here, because she moves a little rougher than she should. There we go. All right, we'll put this baby back on. Alrighty, carburetor is back in place. I think what we need to do now is we need to just put a fuel line on this that comes up and get this thing some fuel and see if we can get it to run. Then we'll see if we can get it to dial in. That'll be the next trick. One thing I can tell you for sure, mounting this to my lift was a terrible idea. It just shakes the crap out of everything. Can't hardly hear the thing run. Our rope's hanging out again. Go ahead and take a look at that, but it runs. We'll get this baby dialed in and purring along, but I gotta get it mounted to something different than this because this is terrible. All right, we've changed the way we're doing this just a little bit. We've actually mounted this to my dirt bike stand. And we'll see if this keeps this thing a bit more under control and not quite as wild a ride. And I have a screwdriver ready to go to do some adjusting as well. So, let's fire it up. Not too bad. Bounces around like mad, but we just don't have it mounted to anything solid enough. But yeah, she bucks around like a bucking bronco. I think this is used on a generator because it has a tapered shaft, a crankshaft, and the throttle on it is just a static setting. So we can slow it down and boom, she picks right back up. So I think all that's pretty good. But yeah, I'm going to call this a win. Got to fix the starter. We can tackle that, but yeah, that's about it. I'm going to fix the starter on it and call it pretty much done. But we got this baby to run. I got this from a guy that was moving, and he had all kinds of crap in his basement. And this was a wet basement. It wasn't a dry thing at all. So I wasn't sure if the damn thing was going to run or not, but it does. It looks like somebody had probably just went through it because that piston looked really new, cross-hatching the cylinders. The valve surfaces look fairly new, like they'd just been redone. So I don't know what was going on with it, but you can tell by the way that it is. This has a tapered shaft on it, and it's rusty, very rusty from the basement. So I'm thinking this is probably a generator thing, but I think there's enough of this shaft left that you could use it about any other thing too. You can put a pulley on here or whatever. My hopes for this thing is actually to use it for a log splitter. And I'm trying to find a log splitter with a bad engine on it. And I thought this big brute of an engine would probably do that job pretty well. Now we are just jumping around everywhere, but I don't think we're got it to where it needs to be to run smooth as far as engine RPM. Some things run smoother at different RPMs than others. So I'm hoping that's the case with this. Guys, thanks for watching. I don't think there's any big deal about fixing this starter. I don't know that you really want to watch that. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you have any comments, anything you'd have done different, please leave a comment down below. I sure like to read those, and I do respond to almost all of them. So give me a shot. Give me a shout. God bless.